We are delighted today to welcome back California State Senator, the Honorable Jerry Hill. Senator Hill has been a respected and dedicated public servant for over 20 years and has been very busy since we last talked to him. So, Senator, it was really good to have you here, and thanks for being here.
Thank you, Dan. It's great to be here, to be with you again in Millbrae.
Yeah. Now, we've done a little bit of research, and we saw that 2019 was a very productive year for you. You had 9 bills signed by the governor, 2 committee bills signed by the governor, and 2 Senate resolutions passed. In addition, you have worked tirelessly with local municipalities, organizations, and individuals, all with resolving issues and requests. It's quite remarkable.
Well, it's been a busy year, and what we found is that we were looking at trying to do, something became very clear. We want government to work better for people. And we did that in a number of ways. We help veterans, try to make life better for them. We help seniors. We help those patients that may be victimized by their doctor so that they get resolution and they get justice in that too. So a lot of areas that are very interesting and very helpful to people.
All right, let's go back to some of those. How about Senate Bill 222? Something about housing discrimination. Can you tell us about what the goals of that bill?
Absolutely. What we learned in California, there were many landlords who were discriminating against veterans. You can't discriminate against someone for their race, religion, ethnicity, any of those issues, those things, but you could discriminate against them because they were a veteran. You can't do that anymore. And we found that people were discriminating because they found that veterans may be a little iffy, they may have some problems that they brought back from where they were, and now they will have an equal opportunity like everyone else.
Wonderful. Now, how about JoJo's bill? That's 223, I think.
220. I think that SB 223.
Yeah.
Right. JoJo is a student in South San Francisco in high school. He has a very severe form of epilepsy. Cannot survive without seizures all the time. Constantly could not go to school. But what they found is using CBD oil, the form of cannabis, not the THC that's psychoactive, but the medicinal part, that the CBD oil would moderate and kind of eliminate his seizures so that he could go to school. The problem was every day at around noon, his mother would have to come onto campus, wheel him off of campus 1,000 feet in his wheelchair, administer the oil, and then wheel him back and leave with it. That's because of federal law and the challenges, certainly because cannabis is a form of CBD is a form of cannabis, and the federal government considers that a class 1 narcotic. So that was a problem. So this legislation now says if the school district agrees, the parent can bring the cannabis on, the CBD, not the cannabis, the CBD on, administer it on campus, and then walk off with the CBD, and the child will not be disrupted, the classroom won't be disrupted, and they can continue with his education. It's a wonderful opportunity to provide education for some children who really desperately need it, Dan. I couldn't believe the problem. And now I think we've solved that if these districts will agree to it.
Good. Now all we need is to get the feds in line.
That's exactly right.
Now the one that's dear to my heart also, and that is the bill with regard to seniors, a very vulnerable group of which I'm part of that now. Can you tell us a little bit about Senate Bill 304?
Well, 304 was brought to us by our great district attorney, Steve Wagstaff. He said that the problem is many seniors now are victims of financial abuse and where they're being taken advantage of, especially for financial crimes. And elder abuse is now becoming certainly a popular crime. What this would do is when the crime would be committed, it would be committed in many of the Bay Area counties. As that would occur, these victims of that would have to testify in all of these different counties once the bad guy was caught, and they would go after them. This legislation says if the judge agrees in one county, that one county would then prosecute for all of the crimes within the Bay Area. Therefore, the senior would not have to testify a dozen times in different trials. They do it one time only. So we're trying to protect the senior after they've already been victimized so that they can only have to suffer through that one experience. So it's good legislation and make life better, I think, for some seniors.
Very good, excellent.
Thank you.
Legislation. And I think we all remember, because you had mentioned it a little bit earlier about the balcony Senate bill. We remember in 2015 the Berkeley incident in which the Burke Balcony collapsed. Can you tell us more about that bill?
That was terrible. What a tragedy. 2015, when that occurred, and the injuries and I think it was 6 deaths. Wow. And they were all Irish students who were here visiting their friends from Ireland. They were on the balcony in Berkeley, and And it collapsed, and it collapsed because it was dry rot had taken over. It was poor construction. The contractor had already been sued the previous 2 years for $26 million from his previous cases. So what we've been doing over the last few years is strengthening the requirement for inspections. So we have apartments this year now, homeowners associations. If you live in a planned community, you'll have to now have that balcony or that raised staircase or any extended area has to be inspected every 9 years in this case to make sure that it's still sound, that moisture hasn't gotten in and deteriorated and caused that dry rot to deflect it and create a problem. So that now will make that safer in the future too.
Good.
Government's working better.
Wow, and that's all decks. Personal,
All decks.
Wow.
All decks in commercial or residential property.
A lot of work to do. Good. And how about the Senate Bill 1448? You were here in the past and you talked a little bit about that, and now I understand that in 2019 there's some updates on that?
Yes, that was the Patient's Right to Know Act, where if you are abused or victimized by a doctor, that you have a right to know that before you see that doctor again, if that doctor is on probation for sexual assault or substance abuse or some of the other offenses. What this now requires, because there's a loophole there, if you are a doctor, as we saw at USC last year, a gynecologist had been practicing for 20 years, victimizing hundreds, I think thousands of women, and they would complain to the school, and the school would do nothing but consider it a human resources issue and never report it to the medical board, who's the professional regulatory body that would then discipline the doctor or take his license away. Well, this closed that loophole. Now they have 15 days if that school or any clinic, and not just doctors, any professional, health professional, whether it's nurses, podiatrists, chiropractors, any of them, if there's a complaint filed, the school or the clinic has 15 days to report it, or they get a $50,000 fine, and then it just goes up from there. So that's a good incentive or disincentive to make sure you do the right thing, and we protect those patients so that they don't continue that victimization, which we saw at USC.
Great. I love the passion. Something that's been of great interest most recently is drones.
Yes.
Drones and new technology. So I understand there's a new Senate Bill 21 that you introduced that addresses this.
Well, what we're trying to do is make sure that drones, I mean, especially around the airport, SFO, all you need is a drone to get in the way of a 737 landing, and we've got serious problems. And they have had sightings of drones close by airplanes and in the airport. This basically says if you're going to fly a drone, you need to know where you're flying, understand the environment that you're in, and make sure that it's done safely. And there's really not an educational campaign to do that. This will provide that for people.
Last question.
Yes.
Has nothing to do with the Senate bill, but it has to do with your wonderful career. You have 1 year left, so you're not finished yet. But any ideas about retirement? You got a lot of energy, positive energy. You've done a lot.
Well, I appreciate the question, and I don't know what I'm going to do. I mean, I've got 1 year, and I'm not giving up on that, and I'm going to work hard, and I want it to be a good year. But after that, I don't know what to do. I mean, I really don't. There's always been, it's a little scary, frankly, Dan, because we've always had a trajectory where your career always goes, not necessarily planned, but there are always opportunities. This way that, now I look at it, there aren't that many opportunities in that direction. I mean, they're running for office again, another elected office, or doing something appointed, an appointed position, or just sitting back and taking a little of the time that I'd like to do too. So we'll see what happens.
Right. I know you'll come up with something good, because we still need you.
You're very kind.
So on behalf of MCTV and our Take Notice production team, we want to express our sincere gratitude for your visit today, and thank you for decades of tireless, energetic, and devoted service.
Thank you.
We wish you the best for whatever the future brings. And to our viewers, have a safe and happy holiday season from all of us here at Take Notice.